Back in the garage. I'm Joey Hamilton. This is Graham Betchart with Making Space for Love. Um,
Here we go.
this has been wild, and I just want to thank everybody out there who's given us good feedback. We've had, it's overwhelming sometimes. Like we've had people that say that they're sharing this with their therapist, they're doing work in those spaces. We've had parents, multiple parents, say that they're sharing it with their children. Their kids are in tough spots, and there's not men out there with who are talking about this, and we've had people talk about their teenage sons find value in what we're doing. Um, we've had parents talk about young women that are their daughters that are finding value in this. So it's been a wild ride. We're only into episode 3 right now, so
Hey, we're getting value out of this. I mean, we're on the journey too. This isn't like this is what we're trying to do every day. And we're in service, man. Like I didn't know this was gonna happen. We're just in a car the other month and just here it goes. We just started rolling.
we're on our way.
But I am grateful to help people. I got a call from a friend and she was like, she listened to the first episode. It brought up a lot of emotion for her. And she was like, it just really reminded her of how powerful what we're doing is. So we're humbled by all this stuff, but we're gonna keep serving. We're gonna let this rip
Yeah,
and go for it.
we're excited. Again, you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You can find all the episodes on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. So give us a follow.
Yeah.
Ask us questions. We're happy to answer
Yeah,
anything, or
fire
at
away
least
with
try to.
questions. Fire away.
But yeah, let's get into today.
Yeah, what do we got?
So last time we talked about stories, right? The stories that come up, and I think we can keep building on that. And there's to me, right? Our brains protect ourselves. Like you touched on this. Our brains protect ourselves, and I think one of putting our physiology in perspective, right? Like how humans are built.
Yeah.
What I've always thought is so interesting is that we really are just have caveman brains still, right?
Just old
Like,
reactionary brains. They're
like,
so dysfunctional, man.
like really, they don't like at this like where we are as humans, they don't serve us as well as they could. And what I keep coming back to is you take a look at anxiety, right? So 10,000 years ago, if Graham and I are hanging out in the bush and we're walking along, we hear a growl and a lion starts chasing us,
Yeah.
our brains are going to put us in the fight or flight,
Yeah, right.
right? And what's amazing to me is emotionally, when our brains don't know the difference between something that's real, like a lion chasing us,
Yeah, right.
or something that's not real, like I have to give a speech on stage in front of people,
Yeah.
or I would like to go talk to this attractive person that I might feel romantic feelings for.
Yeah, right.
Our brain just translates as like there's a fucking lion coming
Yeah,
for you.
I'm about
So
to die.
like elevate your heart
Fuck.
rate and don't see clearly and just tunnel vision and get the fuck out of here,
Yeah.
or stay and see what happens, right?
That got us here. It's not going to take us forward, though.
No.
That shit is not going to take us forward.
And so I think like today let's dig into like these stories that we talked about last time, right? Everyone has these stories or these experiences. Maybe it's more the experiences that form the stories, right? And what I've noticed is I've had experiences, and we're talking more about the not pleasant type of experiences that make you, shut down or put your walls up. It's like, what are the things that we like? It's really like, what does the body remember in terms of these stories and these experiences, and what's worth remembering, and what do we say? Listen, story. Listen, feeling. You served your purpose for a time, but it's time to go.
Ooh, shit.
Right? Like, I'll give you an example. So, in a recent relationship or past relationship, I had something where there was like a push pull dynamic.
Okay.
Right? And they would show up, and everything was great, and then they felt like they needed to run, and they would disappear, right? And then they come back, and everything was great, and then they disappear. Or when I started showing emotion or things started to get real, they would back down. And for me and my attachment stuff and abandonment things, like that's one of the worst things for my nervous system. And so what I'm finding now when I'm meeting new people is that there's almost this hyper vigilance,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, but I'm now at least I'm consciously saying,
Yeah, right.
is this something I need to pay attention to? And what I'm finding is like determining whether or not it's a pattern,
Mm.
right? Someone does something once and like you're just figuring things out. You're in the beginning stages of stuff. You're just figuring out how you interact together and stuff like that.
Wow.
So how do we determine one, I guess, if they're patterns, and two, if it's a pattern that we need to pay attention to because our spidey senses are going off saying, I've experienced this before. How do I determine if it's the same thing? Because I think when you have those experiences, you get into that hypervigilant state
Yeah, right.
and you can overdo it.
Ooh. Dude, you're really on it. It's almost like when you say that, it's like we have to acknowledge like we're in a place of war is almost what it feels like in your brain. When you're hyper vigilant, that's the same as someone in war who doesn't sleep, right? Or they learn to always be kind of alert because this danger is coming. This thing is like about to happen. And that, holy shit, that's intense, dude. That's an intense, I mean, that's
Inside, it gets really intense.
really intense.
And
Really
I'd say
intense. Yeah,
it's
really intense.
almost more intense when you're aware of it,
Mm.
because now not only do you have all that shit happening inside you, but then like you're also inside you trying to be the referee, being like, what the fuck do I pay
Look at the
attention
referee.
to, right?
Look at the referee. Well, good thing we have some real skills for this type of shit, right? I mean, I think the first thing is like, you're like, okay, these stories are popping up. For whatever reason, our brain is hardwired to like kind of be fearful. Like, you know how like you could go, I just saw this the other day, like you go to the edge of a cliff or a building and you're afraid of heights.
Yeah.
That means we made it. The humans that weren't afraid of heights, they died, right? Because they'd go to the edge of the cliff and just fall the fuck off eventually. So I think the start of our hard wiring, what always helps me is like how your brain is wired is like software for a computer. You got to update the shit. You got to update it. You got to update it. And the updating part is like you do this is when like you use your rational brain. Am I in fucking danger right now? Am I? Is there like a lion chasing me? Am I in danger if I breathe through this moment? And most of the time, it's not. I mean, think about you driving a car over here today. Did that feel scary to you? No.
No, but
That was the most dangerous shit you'll do all day. Facts. Facts. You're in a bullet that's moving around. One slight thing. So your feeling isn't always like, this is the part that would drive me crazy, is fuck, how I feel doesn't dictate reality. Right?
right.
Right? So I think going back to your question of like, oh shit, like how do we know right? How do we know we're safe in this moment? Like how do we know we're safe? I think you got to welcome that shit in. You got to welcome it in because the part of you that wants to control everything and know, am I exactly safe or else I won't show up? There has to be a curious part here too. There has to be a part of, look, I don't know. I'm going to try it. I'm going to breathe. Let me open up a little bit. And really with the intention of, let me just start to calm my nervous system down. Like not so much as like, is this person like my partner for life? You almost look at it like, well, I'm sitting next to this person. All my shit's coming up, right? It's all coming up. Let's train. And so for that moment, like finding your breath or doing the 4-7-8 breath, that to me is when like that's the rewiring of your nervous system. So not to get all fucking sciencey and shit, but like every time you feel the old trigger and you breathe and choose your response, you're creating a new pathway. So you're making there's this thing called myelin that wraps around in your brain, and the more you do myelin, it's like muscle and shit like that. So like,
Well, I want to get into this.
okay,
So
okay.
I know about this, right?
You know about this. Okay.
I've heard about this. I think this sciencey stuff is really good for people to understand about how you rewire the brain.
Because we're training, right? Yeah.
So my understanding of it is that your nerves have these things called myelin sheaths, right? And they carry, they essentially like, that is what carries the electrical signal from your brain to whatever you're doing.
Yes.
Right? And the more you do something, right? Like that's the idea of, it's not practice that makes perfect, it's perfect practice that makes perfect, is because the more you do something, whatever pathway you send it through, the myelin kind of gets thicker or grows or something. Right?
It makes it easier to go down that pathway again.
Right. So it's like,
it's grooved.
It's like sending a signal and giving it two options and saying, well, here's a 2-lane road and here's an 8-lane highway.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's always going to take whatever pathway is fastest and easiest, going to take the 8-lane highway. So the idea in anything, sports, mental stuff, is you're trying to retrain the brain to use the pathway you want. So
Boom.
even if it's the 2 lane road now, you have to build that up so it becomes the 8 lane highway, and the 8 lane highway
Shit.
gets
Come
deteriorated
on.
back into like a dirt path,
The right pathway
right?
may have no lane. And
Right.
the way I look at it, like it's just an overgrown bush. And you're like, there's no fucking pathway down here because we haven't gone down it forever. And so the start is let's start hacking our way through this shit. And so as you're building a pathway, if there is no pathway, this is the work. This is called the fucking work.
And that's
Is
why it's uncomfortable,
yeah,
right?
so
Like,
we want to get uncomfortable.
right?
And every day, if you're grinding to move 6 inches on a new pathway, great job. Like you may feel like I didn't move at all, but like you struggled through the vines and it's overgrown and you're cutting it. Remember, this is your runway. You're going to have to clear your runway for a while, and it's going to be old patterns. And so it's like, this is like where that part of you that wants to live, that wants it, like this is where you fight. So you're in a dinner with somebody, all your fucking electricities, zing, going wild. Your old reptilian brain's like, go down this motherfucking pathway that's 8 wide, and it's a magnet just pulling you in that. And you're like, the pathway to take is this old road that's got chains around it. I put the chains on it and said, don't go down this road. And we got to go start breaking these fucking chains and walking down this road that we shut down a long time ago because it meant we were safe. Now, if we don't take it, we're actually in trouble. So like, this is where I'm like, hey, that masculine thing you're looking for, well, guess what? This is where it is. This is where you get to fight. This is where you get to be a bad motherfucker. So if you're sitting there on a date with dinner, you're talking to someone, they're having a wonderful time. They just say whatever, and it fucking triggers you. It had nothing to do with them. You're just like, here's this moment. You go in, if you breathe through that moment and oh, I get to open up a new pathway. Thank you. Thank you, wonderful human who's sitting with me on this. So now we're not like, what the fuck, you? And we're not even trying to gut through it. We're like, hey, thank you. I get to work on my pathway. This is the opposite of grinding. This is called grease your grind. Don't fucking resist the work you got to do. Don't resist the work you got to do. So you're like, I'm going to happily hack through this fucking madness that you set up. You closed the road down.
Right.
Because at some age you were like, if you go down that road, we're going to die. And maybe that was true. It ain't true anymore. And so I like that old brain. The only thing that helps me with our old brain is fucking it got us here. And so thank you. And then we have to upgrade the software.
Okay.
And upgrading the software is it's not going to happen in one click, right? This is like, let's keep making space in these moments. And if you got a moment like that when you're out on a date, like, okay, you're out on this is keep it real. You're out on a date, you're sitting there, you're at a table. Are you in danger? No.
Not
No,
physically,
right?
no.
Like if you were, like if you look to the front of the restaurant and 2 lions walk through the restaurant, yes, you and your date should start to make moves to protect yourself from the lions. But you're sitting there having dinner and your shit comes up.
Nothing's.
I mean, I doubt she's just going to stab you, or like, right? That's the part you have to be like, I'm just sitting here with someone. I'm actually okay. Right? And you have to coach yourself through that fucking moment. Because what you feel is, I am not okay at all. I'm safe. Go down the 8-lane highway, a perfect self-destruction, but I'll never have to deal with how unsafe I am with this person. And then what if we just say, let's be a little courageous, right? Here's the victory to the vulnerable belt, right? You're like, fuck it. This is when the mental skills come in. You're like, in this moment, I'm vulnerable as fuck. I'm going to die. No, I'm not. Like, take control of your old brain. You can't be a victim. No, that old brain, you don't know any different. This is not a lion I'm sitting next to. It's not. It's not. I'm not going to die. This is a human being who wants to have dinner and actually would like me to be available. So you know what? I'm going to be a warrior right now and breathe into that shit. And I'm going to fucking thank you. Thank you, person sitting on the other side of the table.
There's so much power in that. I mean, I've been doing that the last for the last few months.
Yeah.
But in the last week I was doing it, there was like stuff coming up, and like literally just out loud battled it with myself. I was like, you know what, story, come, like you say, like, come sit on my lap, like let's fucking do this. And at first I was like, it was raw, like not the I think I'm gonna die kind of thing, but like, wow, I got emotional, and I was like, I've never stood up for myself like this before, right?
Damn.
And
Wow, beautiful.
then at some point you just do it enough times and you're like, those stories ain't shit.
It ain't
Like they're
shit.
just fucking ideas that are in your head, right?
You see how powerful this gets? You see the warrior part of you come out where you're like, "Oh, I'm learning how to fight." You're like, "No one's ever stood up for me in this moment." Well, you have to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
And you're fucking do it. So you feel the feelings. Feel it all.
I think one of the things I do with my daughter, you were talking about this, is like um, the idea of being in a restaurant, right? There's no lion at the door. There's no threat there.
Yeah.
It's really just you're in your head with your own feelings. And my daughter can feel like that a lot. And one of the things I have to do to like ground her is say like, listen, when you have all these feelings,
Wow.
it feels like everyone knows them too.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like you don't want to go out in public, you don't want to go to school, you don't want to go into these
Wow.
public spaces because you're feeling these so intensely that it feels like everyone else is in your mind and knows them too.
Yeah,
And
right.
that's going to be the shame part that people start experiencing and stuff. I'm like, what you need to understand is like,
Damn.
you could be freaking out inside.
Yeah.
And your best friend could be sitting across from you at the lunch table and she has no idea. Like,
No
no clue.
idea.
Like, no clue. She's not in your head.
No.
Right? Like, if you're quiet and reserved and like you look like you have this heaviness to you, they might say, like, hey, Lainey, like, what's going on? Are you okay?
Yeah.
But if you're just trying to maintain and do whatever you're doing, no one else is going to know. So I think in those quiet internal moments where you're just, the noise is so loud, a lot of what you're talking about is how you approach that noise, right? Like,
yes.
is it, oh my God, I gotta hide this, I gotta put this away so no one else can feel it and I can't feel it and I freeze my heart and all that, or is it
Yeah,
like
right.
hey, this isn't gonna kill me,
Yep.
so let's go explore this.
Dude, there it is right there. I mean, once you do that once, you have an experience. You're like, oh shit, it's not as bad. It's just stabilizing yourself in that first moment, right? So we're going to observe thoughts, right? You start to work on your mindfulness skills. Hey, when stories pop up, there's the story. What's the sensation like? Okay, sensation, it's not that bad. Story's insane, right? Not based in
Yeah.
reality, fucking insane. Software from '88. We got to start to recognize, okay, that's not it. What's the sensation? Okay, there's emotion that wants to come out. Let's let it come out. Maybe I'm trying to squeeze that and tighten it so it doesn't come out. Oh shit, I gotta open it up a little bit. Just start to feel the sensations. The stories are gonna seem like death. That's when I told you, like, you're not gonna die. You're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, you're gonna face it. You're gonna face a story that's gonna convince you you're gonna die. You're not. That's the youthful part of you that didn't know any better. So I do think a big part of this, man, is like having a friend next to you when you go through it, being like, you're totally safe. I had that for me.
Yeah.
When I was like, I'm going to die. I looked over at my coach. She was like, and I was like, she's giggling. Not even close to like, fuck. So you're like, and I was like, you're going to feel like you're going to die. It's okay. And you look at me and I'm not like, oh, Joey, your life. I'm like, good work, man. This is freedom.
Yeah. It's like, I love this for you.
Because that old brain is fucking idiot. We already, 10,000 years ago, that's the stupidest shit in the world. Why being a human is like that, I don't know. I wish sometimes we were more like deer. Here's how we can learn from animals. They got a ways to go. I'm not saying we're animals. Like, animals do stupid ass shit. But if you look at like a gazelle will just be eating grass, right? If they see a lion, everything alerts. If they got to run, they run. Full run. Soon as the lion is gone, right back to eating grass. They're not in fight or flight after. They gracefully come back into that space.
Oh, we don't do that.
We don't do that. My guess is they learn to practice that. You'll see animals too after something intense, like they'll do a big, they'll shake it off. Like they'll shake. And I'm just eating grass. They're back to the present. And because they probably have learned, I'm guessing, if they're stressed the whole time, they're going to die. Humans stress themselves out. And what's one of the main killers? Stress, right? So we have to train out of this. That's why the framework of like, man, you're a badass when you do it. This is training, comfortable being uncomfortable, victory to the vulnerable. These are just tried and true training principles. You can get yourself out of this. I think it is important though, like, doesn't mean the stories go away. It just means as they're there, they lose the electricity. You know, the electricity at first is just like zing, and you're like, I got no way out. Then maybe a couple months later, you're like, that zing is not as bad. That means you've been building a new pathway. Even if you only walked it 3 or 4 times, the other one you've walked 20,000 times, at least you've walked it 3 or 4
There's
times.
something I've noticed that too. It's
You
like
know, fuck.
it's not about that the feelings never go away.
Yeah.
You just learn to let them move through you instead of trying to push against them, right? Like
Brother, that's it right there.
instead of resisting, you just let them come, and you're like, you're welcome to be here, but you are not going to dictate
That's
how
it.
I respond.
You have to feel pain in life. That's part of the human experience. You don't have to suffer. Suffering is prolonged pain. People get stuck in that. Pain, it's going to happen, right? You're going to feel a bunch of pain. What we tend to do in those moments, freeze up and try to prevent that from ever happening again. And now we're caught in a cycle as opposed to just letting the shit come through. You feel pain for a moment and then you keep it moving. Again, I always go back to like the midwives during childbirth. Someone's given birth. That's probably the most pain that exists in the world. They lean, they breathe, they go towards it, they learn to center themselves in the middle of the most intense shit. And they're like, I never want to do this, I don't want to do this. And then they have the baby see the baby, and then what happens? They're like, hey, I can't wait to do it again. And so it's already like they've let go of this whole process. But this is where we train, man. Like this is where you do the training, coaching yourself. I'm safe in this moment. I feel like I'm gonna die. That's an illusion. You bring the warrior stuff out of you, and the more you practice this, after a while you realize I am not in danger, and you start to open up, to this whole other world. But I think like what stuck with me with this shit, well, it's an everyday practice. They're like, come on. Like
Yep.
but that's the good thing. That means it's not luck. Doesn't mean you have to be born with it. Doesn't mean you have to be some special human. It's all, dude, but you got to do it. Right? Like if you learn that water's good for you, but then you don't drink water, you're like, well, you still have to drink the fucking water, man. You know? So like I think like that those epiphanies when you go through this and you have someone by your side who kind of looks at you and goes, you're totally safe. We can be that for everyone in our support system. You can be that for your daughter, right? As you're learning this stuff, you can be that for them. I do my best to be that for my kids and my wife. I'm not perfect at it, but as they're going through their shit, like you can be a good example of someone who's skilled in this moment, who's not reacting to the wild stories, who's rewiring yourself and doing all that. And I mean, fuck, man, what's more important than this?
Nothing.
Shit. That's what I thought. I'm like, when people say, Graham, what's success? I'm like, this. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, make a bunch of money and win a bunch of stuff or whatever. I'm like, cool, have that, but have that with this,
Right.
And I think for people like, I always like it helped me knowing, damn, this is where you fight. Like, this isn't soft. So you get this satisfaction if you have a desire to be successful or do that. Like, you can put it into this space. And you have a space to be like ultra masculine in the most loving way, but you're really fighting. Like my story comes up, I'm scared. You want to reject, push it onto someone else. Hey, this is a real fight.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, like let's step in the ring. We want to frame it like that because this is real shit. Now, if you don't and you react, just blame the other person, like you have lost that fight, right? Like that fight's going to come haunt you. But like, I think shit, man, if there's any like young people out there, watching this or people looking for like, well, how do I find that? Like, I hear this word alpha all the time. I hear this and I'm like, Jesus, I don't know what people are doing. But in these moments when you can go be there for yourself, love yourself unconditionally in the most terrifying moment where your mind is convinced you're going to die, is that not the pinnacle of alpha? Is that not
It
the
is.
peak of a fight?
And I think what people are finding, like in that terms of when people say alpha these days, right? It's like, well, I have control over everything.
Yeah.
Those people, like, so when you do this work on yourself, what I'm noticing is like, I gain so much more confidence, right? Like
Yeah,
that,
right.
like, toughness inside that when, like somebody cuts you off on driving
Sure.
or someone does something stupid in a store where some people will be like, what the fuck? And, start some shit. It's like, dude, like that fight is so tiny compared to the shit that I'm doing right now.
Come on,
Like
man.
it's not even worth my fucking
It's not
time.
even a
Like
fight.
not even worth my fucking time, right? And so I think when people talk about that word alpha now, they are trying to control everything. Like that typical alpha is trying to control everything because they don't have control over themselves.
Dude, you already know it. If you're trying to control outside of you, that's not it. That's the opposite of alpha, right? That's
Yeah.
literally you're helpless trying to control things that you can't, thinking that my personal light or energy or agency is dictated by something outside of me. It's already off, right? And so the best alphas I've ever known in my life, one alpha can harmonize a room with their vibration, with their awareness, with their consciousness, where someone else who's not aware can't do that. I learned it all from women. They're the biggest alphas I've ever met. They knew how to control the room, and controlling a room wasn't controlling outside of you. They could control themselves. They could breathe. They could face the most immense fucking fear and shift the whole energy in that moment. You knew they were in charge because they were in fucking charge.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime someone's like, hey, you over there, like, you be cool, I'm like, this guy's a fucking idiot. When I work with police officers, now let's keep it real, say a police officer, the U.S. Navy, right, where they're facing life and death moments, what we work on is de-escalating themselves, not what's outside of you. And as they de-escalate themselves and breathe and center themselves, shit, everything around them starts to do the same thing because they're in charge. If they're like, hey, everyone outside of me, stop moving, I'm like, that doesn't end well ever. You're projecting fear, because you have no sense of control. So I started to train police officers, not because I was trying to train police officers, because they came to me and were like, hey, just like, we're doing this. I didn't know I'd be doing this shit, but it's helping people. They were like, Graham, did you know we're de-escalating scenes, not from making other people de-escalate. We figured out we de-escalate. So the stories come up like a cop's on the way to a scene. They get a call on a radio. They have all kinds of stories that pop up. I might die. My life's on the line. All these things. And if they act on that, they actually create a higher chance that's going to occur. But if on the way there, they're already like, I'm breathing, coming back, choosing my response, starting to get everything into a different zone, their sense of control is profound after that. You
That's
know,
incredible.
and I didn't see any of that coming. You got to remind them, cops signed up to be cops, so there's no victim shit. You signed up for it. You signed up to put a gun on your hip. You signed up to go do it. This is what you signed up for, right? You're going out on a date with someone. I signed up to go on a date with them, right? You do not have to go on a date with someone, but you signed up for it. So your shit comes up talking to someone. If you're blaming them, you know you're off. In your heart, this is a big moment. This is the swordless samurai moment. Give thanks in that moment. Thank you. Joey, me and you doing this, I think I've mentioned this a bunch of times on these. I've been so terrified to go into relationships and shit. This is real. It's a real story for me because I'm like, they're just going to laugh at me. They're going to think this shit is corny. I already look like some washed up dude selling kombucha. You know what I mean? Like, who the fuck is this dude? I got to be practical with people. And so I've low key kind of like fought this a little bit. I've been kind of scared. And then when we connected a few months ago, it was like, oh, here's your safety. So as much as I'm helping you perhaps feel safe, you're doing the same thing for me. So I can come face to face and work on it. And I mean, I'm grateful. Because it's not that like the stories go away in your life, right? You face new ones as you get older or whatever, and you're like, oh, here's another story. How do I want to look at this? How do I want to do it? And the reward is always, man, when you face your stories, breathe into them. Like you said, sit it on your lap, embrace it, you know, and then you learn, face it, embrace it, and you can learn to erase it. What happens is you unlock more energy. And so you're like the actual reward of all this shit is you just feel more here, more vibrancy, more alpha is released. Like your vibration is going up. So even if the date didn't go well and you're like, that's not my life partner, no problem. You guys both helped each other.
I want to have that feeling of going through dating, right, and just being able to be like, it doesn't have to work.
Yes.
This doesn't have to work out. Right? Like,
that's okay.
When I was younger,
wow,
I would like meet somebody and I'd feel attracted and like go on a date and I wasn't seeing any of this. Like, how do we fit together? All that was like, we just have to try and make this work, right? Like,
yeah.
I like you, you like me. Like, we just have to try and make this work. It's like to have that, to have that confidence of just walking into something and being able to say like, I know all my stories are going to pop up here, but I don't really care, and this doesn't have to work.
Wow.
Like, that is a kind of confidence.
Damn, do you see what you're getting into right there? Like, instead of trying to calculate how it all works, now you're purposely going, I don't want to go into that space. I'd rather live in the wonder. I'd rather be present here with you. And like now to me, this is like one of the most romantic things you can, like, you're actually connected with a human.
And you're so much more present.
And then you get to see where it goes. I mean, this is just what's popping up now. I think that's probably some of the challenges with like maybe dating apps or stuff. It's just all maybe, I don't know, kind of calculated, or I don't know. You're trying to like,
We don't have like a dating app, and like we should do an episode just on how to navigate dating
yeah,
apps.
we should do that.
But dating apps was like you just have a screen with things that people wrote. Who knows how they came up with
Yeah, right.
what they wrote, and like you're trying to gauge. I mean, most of it is just physical attraction, right? Like you have a photo, and then if you
Right.
like the photo, then you go and like read what they're writing, or at least
Yeah, yeah.
that's me. I don't know, maybe that makes it seem shallow, but
And that's a,
right, like, and you don't know, and so you get sent. You talk so much like humans fear the unknown more than anything else, right?
yeah,
So you're going to this dating app, you're going on it, you meet with somebody from this screen,
wow.
right? And then you agree to meet, and you're going out into the unknown because you're like, you're thinking, okay, I really hope they fucking look like what they look like, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
really hope that they like say that they do all these things,
Yeah.
right? And you're going out into the unknown, and so there's just so much of that in the first part of meeting somebody on those apps where like there's so much like right,
Mm,
and if you can just be like like I'm confident in myself,
yeah.
like I signed up for this,
I signed up
right?
for this
Like
shit.
nobody signed me up for this app, and you just go and do it and have the confidence to be like, this doesn't have to work.
Dude, I think that's like when you take the outcome and you say it doesn't have to work. Not only like I've been doing mental performance coaching with fucking big time like athletes and shit like that. That's how you perform at your best. When you say, "Look, I don't know what the outcome's going to be." There's pressure to be like, "Oh, we have to win," or "I got to get married by a certain date," or a certain thing. And when you go, actually, like none of that has to happen. I'm actually just going to be present. I'm going to breathe. And then here's the fun. Let's try to find a flow. Let's try to find an actual human connection with someone. When an athlete is in flow, after you ask him what was the experience like, they're like, that's the pinnacle of it. Whether you won or lost is like kind of irrelevant to that actual thing. It's like, can you get yourself into it? The unknown is where flow exists.
Mm-hmm.
So it's scary for us, right? Because we're like, fuck, the unknown. The logical part wants to know how it all works. The logical part also shuts your fucking heart down because it thought it knew better. You know what I mean? It's okay. It's just like a lost little being. And so you keep guiding it now, going, we want to go into the unknown. Because in the unknown, then I'm reading what's real. And then you'll actually let something start to occur in the unknown. And like making space for love to me is about making space for the unknown. Or the other side of it is, you want to know the day you're going to die?
I prefer not.
No, prefer not to. So you already know you want to live in the unknown. You see how you knew right away? So don't, you
Oh, that's
want
like,
to live in the
wow,
unknown
okay.
without even like, you're like, no, everyone I've asked that, you want to know the day you're going to die? They're like, oh, fuck no. And I'm like, so you clearly want to live in the unknown. Because let me help you out. The end of this human journey, that you're going to die. Let me help you out. That's
That's
a guarantee.
so. So I'm just thinking about this now. One of the best dates I've ever been on was one where it was not going to work.
Oh
It
shit.
just wasn't like it wasn't going to materialize.
Like
At
that was
least
the
now,
story you told yourself
right?
before the
Yeah.
date, or like, or what do you mean?
So it was somebody that I knew, and we had kind of worked together, and then kept in contact.
Okay, yeah,
and I had been reaching out to her, being like, "Hey, you want to get together?" And
yeah.
she was always very nice and respond quickly. Um, and then finally, a couple of weeks ago, I was like, "Hey, like, let's go to this Warriors game, right?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And she was like, "Okay, like, my schedule's free this week, whatever." So I'm like, "Oh yeah, right. Like, I think she's pretty and
Yeah, yeah.
nice and very kind and all this stuff."
Hell yeah.
So, but I had no idea where I stood in the spectrum of like her romantic feelings, if at all
Okay,
any,
right.
for me.
Right, who knows?
And so we go and we go to dinner first, and we meet up. It was very friendly and stuff, and like right off the bat, like I could just feel her energy. It was like, there is a wall, and you are not coming past this. I am shut down. Like you are not getting through this thing. And I just like, I could feel it. And I was just like, okay, like
Wow.
cool,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
whatever, right? Like I was
Wow.
just very like, and normally I would have been like, oh, I'm gonna figure out a way around
So
this,
you
or
went to
whatever.
acceptance. You just went to acceptance.
Right.
Okay.
And then very quickly she was like, just said it, like, like, I'm not trying to get into anything, my kids are my priority,
Totally.
like, all. And I was just like, okay, right. And I made no attempt to be like, well, don't you think it could work, or
Yeah.
this, or I was just like, okay, cool,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
And then she asked the question like, well, what are you up to, like, what's been going on lately.
Yeah.
So I told her some of the stuff that outside of this stuff that's going on. I was like, oh, and then I've started this new podcast with my friend that I've known
Yeah.
for a long time. And so that came up and we started talking about it. And because she had mentioned, like, she's like, yeah, I also don't want to be with people because, like, a lot of guys, like, they're just not in touch with themselves emotionally and
Sure.
blah, blah, blah. And I didn't say it. I didn't come out of the gate with that right after she said
Be
that.
like,
I
I'm
was, I
getting
was
in touch
just,
with myself.
right. I was
Like,
just listening. I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, that makes sense. Cool.
yeah,
Right.
making space the
And
whole
then
time.
she asked me, she's like, what are you up to? And so I start talking about this podcast. I start talking about the things that we're talking about and all that. And, like,
Wow.
I could literally see that wall just melt.
Ooh.
Right. And it wasn't melting with, romantic feelings for me. She wasn't
Ah,
melting her wall being like, oh my God, you just spoke the magic code and now I want to
yeah.
be with somebody. It was simply
Damn.
just, okay, like, this is a real conversation now. He's being a little bit vulnerable and talking about what he's doing and his, like, I brought in some of my experiences in that
Sure.
conversation as to why we're doing what we're doing right
Yeah.
now. And then she started opening up, and, like, throughout the night we went to the game, and, like, throughout the night, right, like, she started laughing more and smiling more and opening up, and, like, we were walking out and I was like, this is clearly not going to go anywhere,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
at least right now this is not going anywhere.
Sure.
But, like, I had the best time because I just didn't give a shit, right? And I was like, just be yourself, be open, be vulnerable,
Wow.
like, don't care, welcome whatever she's going to bring into this space. And the response that I saw was like, just her being able to be herself,
Wow.
right? And
Man.
I've never had a date like that before, but it was like the coolest thing because I didn't have any expectations or perceived outcome, and I walked away
What he's saying.
getting to know somebody on
Jeez.
such a better level.
That detachment from the outcomes, right? Which,
It's wow. I had, like, one of the best. It
damn.
was such a fun night. Like, so we had
Wow.
I had so much fun
You were living in
because
the wonder, dude.
yeah, like,
Just
I
back in the
wasn't
wonder.
caring about anything else.
You got to care so much you don't care, huh?
Yeah.
You got to, like, wow, dude, that's like the most amazing experience. Think about the name of our show, Making Space for Love. That's it. You made space. So let's
And
go.
then just let it be
Come
what
on.
it is, right? Like,
Damn,
it
dude.
didn't turn into anything.
Where's my little thing here? All right, look at this little jewelry. Tap. This is a mental skill. Tap. Trust what's in your control, accept what's out of your control, and then perform in the present. Where people struggle the most is acceptance. They want to control outcomes. Again, do you want to know the day you're going to die? No. So we already know that ain't it. That's the ultimate outcome. So it's like coming back, just recapping that date, fucking phenomenal. You're making space. She threw up some pretty good punches to start.
It was wild. I could, like,
Like,
feel it.
whoa, whoa, whoa. And her defense comes up. And when defense comes up, what are they expecting back? Barbs. Hey, fuck. You know what I mean? So you know what you got into, brother? You got into fucking, like, dating
It was
jujitsu.
like some Bruce Lee shit. Like,
No, jujitsu. No, for real.
right? Like,
So think about it in terms of energy. She comes up, whew, throws these punches like you're not getting in, and those are stingers, right? They could trigger you, right? But what do? Instead of resisting them and fighting back, you were like, totally cool. Totally cool, right? So if I'm throwing a punch, and instead of you, like, getting tough, like, you just move back and accept it, what happens to my punch? Oh, I just, like, that's the philosophy of jujitsu. You take someone else's power and you just let it drain. You don't resist it. So those initial punches, those big defensive walls she threw up, brother, amazing how you made space with that. And then all of a sudden those walls go down, you melting, and you're not trying to melt them. You're just accepting.
right? It was like I wasn't doing anything. It was just happening. And,
Oh, you're doing a
right?
lot,
Like,
though. Damn, a lot.
one of the biggest defenses, right, is softening,
Mm-hmm.
right? you people coming at you with those punches
Oh wow.
and or put up that wall,
Wow.
if you just put force back, that's just gonna break stuff,
Yee!
right? That's just gonna
That's
break
gonna cause
stuff,
a war.
right? But if you soften and you find a way
Pliable.
to absorb that, right, and just
Oh.
kind of let it bounce off of you, then there's no damage to you.
Do
There's
you
no
see
damage
this?
to them.
You were like, that's why mental flexibility is really what this is. It's not mental rigidity where I'm so rigid. It has to be a certain way. Again, going back to the cop. Hey, control this. It's got to be a certain way. I'm like, we're all going to die. Everyone's going to die here. You went into mental flexibility, pliable. Now it's like you really are getting into martial arts of the mental game. There's a little more fluidity in that. And then all of a sudden, the person you're talking to, it just opens up and you have a great time.
Right.
Like,
They're like, I'm trying to hit you, but like
yeah,
it just feels good on the other end. So I don't know what to do with my hands anymore, right? Like,
you see how you're learning how to fight?
yeah.
And holy shit, man, that shit is so powerful. I hope everyone hears this because this is like really when we mention swordless samurais, right? Like you can't be out there and be like, "Shut up!"
I'm trying to wrap this back
Yeah,
into like we've gone on
we're
some
way out
tangents,
there
like we're way
now.
out there
We're
from
way
where we
out there.
started, but I want to bring it back to the idea of like what's where we started talking about hypervigilance after bad experiences and so like
Okay,
what's
yeah, yeah,
worth
yeah,
paying attention to and what's worth not. The best advice I've ever had from my therapist
yeah.
is she says, look back at those unhealthy relationships and ask yourself, does it feel the same?
Oh, say more, man. Give
So
me.
we'll just use the example that I used earlier of the push pull dynamic, right?
Okay,
Where someone comes into my life and they're lovey dovey, and then
yeah,
I didn't hear from her for 4 or 5 days, and they come back and everything's great, and then they just cut off and say like I don't think we're done, and then they come back,
right,
right?
right.
This whole thing. So after that, I then had an experience with somebody else
Okay,
who we're talking about having this great time and doing all this stuff, and then the the day before we were supposed to meet up, they were like, "Oh no, I want to change the plans." Like, and to me, all the stories came up of like, "Oh, you're trying to hide me. You're pulling
okay,
away after we talked about
yeah,
all this
okay,
great stuff we were gonna do." And that's when my hypervigilance was like, "I've been here before. I don't want to do this again. I'm not like right."
right.
Like that was my like
Of course.
absoluteness was like, "I don't want to have all this." And then so I think about my
Mm,
therapist would have said, "Well, like, does it feel the same?" And it's like I had to really think about that and think like, "Well, no, because like they're talking to me about pulling back,
sure.
right? They still want to meet up. They still want to do something. They're talking to me about why they feel like they're saying it's not you. This is what came up for me." Whereas with the
Okay,
unhealthy relationship, it was just like lights out, no contact,
just gone.
right, gone, and then not doing any repair
No recovery
when
work. Yeah,
no recovery work when it came back,
yeah.
right? And so when we talk about what's important, the body remembers things, what's important to remember, what's not, like how do we judge, like what are the best tools we can use to judge whether or not that is, you know, a yellow flag that's going off that maybe we should pay attention to.
Wow, really amazing stuff. As I hear you say that, I think like it sounds like with this person, they were clearly communicating pretty aware that it was their stuff. I think that's a sign that someone's aware. That like when I look at like, how do I know this is a person to do this with, right? I think you probably have to have that conversation eventually, where you're like, hey, I'm doing this work to make myself available, really working on myself. And if they're in there, it could be their own way. Doesn't have to be the same way at all. But if they're like, I too am working on myself, to me, that's a good sign. One, you're already communicating and you're open to it. And I'm not saying you do that like on the first time you meet someone, but that's always what I was, assessing. That's what me and my wife Tina's only vow to each other is like we'll do the work. What we don't can't know what the work's always going to be, but as we're aware of it, I'll do it. And so I used to like, there's no perfect way to do this, but you're learning when you go out with people, right? There's no perfect way. but you just start to like see when the impulse hits you, like it hits you, and you're like, okay, I'm terrified, I'm gonna die. But actually, what is she saying? She's clearly aware here. So two things at once, right? Here's where the fun works. I'm feeling liberated, like my spirit's liberated, right? I'm doing this whole work, and I'm fucking terrified at the same time. You're gonna have to deal with that a little bit. It's liberated and terrified at the same time as we're building the new pathway, as we're building it. So being terrified again doesn't mean you're in danger. Not being terrified doesn't mean you're safe. This is just part of like the learning process
Ooh,
that you
say that one more time. Not being terrified
doesn't mean you're safe.
mean you're safe.
Again, just like driving your car over here, right? You're like, cool, I'm with Graham. The odds were it was on the line coming over. Of all the shit we're doing today,
Oh yeah.
like this ain't on the line. That was, and you didn't even feel it. This is like we both feel vulnerable doing this shit, opening our hearts up, but like nothing's actually on the line here. So sometimes like this is the old hard wiring is you're gonna feelings aren't facts. And this is where we have to start to get real with shit. So when you're like, well, how do I know if this is the right thing or not? Fucking you're gonna fall down a bunch with this. You don't know, right? You're gonna fucking fall down like a baby. If you're like, I'm a little baby, I want to learn to walk. How do I walk? Fucking fall down every day. And every time you fall down, take notes. Take notes. Okay. And then you learn. So every date you go on, I'm going to learn. Am I going to master this on one date? Man, fuck no. So let yourself fall down. Let yourself go through the process of falling, crawling, learning to stand tall, and then whatever that means after that. Imagine a little baby going, hey, I want to learn to run real fast, but how do I make sure I never fucking fall? We'd be like, little baby, it doesn't work like that. What we're going to get good at is bouncing back after we fall. So this is all about recovery. This is not about, I got to be perfect going through. This is like, this is going to be a little bumpy. It's going to fall. But am I safe to fall? Sure, I'm pliable. We can bounce back. So let me see how I bounce back. Hey, I thought this person was available. Turns out they weren't available. Now I'm a little more aware. Okay, now I know. What were some of the signs that I saw? Because we don't know. How can you know if you go on someone with one date? How do you know?
Just like waiting to see, like we were talking about earlier, like waiting to see if it's a pattern versus just.
I mean, perhaps this is the value of a friendship. That like, well, let's be friends. Anytime you think about a lasting friendship you've met in your life. When you first hang out with them, are you going to be a long-term friend? Like, fuck, man, what's the deal with your... No, you just fucking kick it for that hour. And then after you're like, that was fun, maybe we hang out again. But you're not like, are we going to be best friends? No, this is the unknown. Stop that. Like, let yourself go through the process. And how do you know someone? Usually after, I don't know you after a month or two. Let me see this for a little while. And the story might be that I'm in a hurry, I got to go. Well, let's check that story out. Is that going to help us here? If we're going to be with someone for the rest of our life, are we in a hurry? Like, do we need to hurry into that? Just, stuff to think about, stuff just to be aware of as all these stories pop up. I hear the time story all the time. I'm in a hurry, calculating how it works. How do I know I'm not going to get hurt? I'm like, you are going to get hurt. And that's okay. What if we learn to bounce back and grow from that? And that's where like the real lessons came from. So look, victory to the vulnerable is fucking real, dude. This is real vulnerability, but like, you can really do this. You can, you really can. And like for anyone listening to this, when we start off with just, hey, find your breath. Observe a story when it comes up. You're a champion when you do that. You are a warrior. You are the top of the chain of any of this. You could be 14. You could be 60 years old, 88. It doesn't matter. If you start to just recognize your stories and say, hey, here's a story popping up. Wow, all these feelings are coming up. I'm going to choose my response. I'm going to breathe. Let me, what we call these sneaker waves, like when this wave of emotion hits you and it comes out of nowhere, let me actually relax into this. Not panic. It's hitting. I'm going to go through some feelings, but I'm okay. I can breathe. And those waves pass. Now, if we're not doing this, right, then that's called suffering, and we hold on to it and create a pattern of suffering for our whole life. We don't need to do that. We can feel the pain and learn how to kind of keep growing and evolving. Now we're doing mental training, dude. You know what I mean? Just like working out. We're just doing a process of doing this stuff, man.
What I've noticed is the speed at which you approach things, right?
Yeah.
I'd say in the past, I was very like, get to know them, like let them into your space, open your heart up, like, right? But like we talked about before, I wasn't really opening my heart up. I was opening my heart up and be like, you can get this far.
Yeah.
Right. So I think now it's like the speed at which I'm doing things, like having those experiences, saying, are the feelings in my body the same as the feelings that were in my body when I was with somebody who was unhealthy? Because your body knows.
Yeah. It knows.
Your body knows.
It knows.
Um, and then the last step, I think, is really determining, is this a pattern?
Mm.
Right? Is this a pattern on their part?
Dude, what I'm sensing is one, listening to your body, yes. And it doesn't necessarily speak in, like, say, English. Say you were taught English as a child. It won't speak to you in words. It'll come to you in like an instantaneous knowing, like an immediate understanding. So I think you're, like, what I notice is you're processing two intense things at the same time. One, you're opening your heart up, right? Shit was frozen. You're opening it up. You're like, oh my God, like all this new energy is coming through. It's like a love hangover at times. Like, it's a lot. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, you can hear better. Like it's starting to open, like this thing, and it'll tell you what it's attracted to. It'll you can read it. And at the same time, you're working through some reptilian fucking madness that's in your body as well. You're gonna have 1,000 voices pulling you 1,000 different places, and you just go, which one is really talking to me? What's the voice that I need to hear? Usually it moves slower, it's much quieter, and it knows. The loud, reactionary, fast, defensive, hypervigilant is usually full of shit. So just start to recognize the speed. One is hypervigilant, reactionary, defensive. One might just instantaneously be like no or yes. But it's not making decisions based out of fear. It's making on, like, it's guiding you in the right place. So the assignment is alignment. Can you hear the deep voice? I think you can. I know you can. Now following it, right, like the myelin, there's no fucking path. I got to follow the voice that goes, go this way. You're like, there's no road. There is a road. You got to go work the road. And then you start operating on it. So initially we got to hear the right voice. The only way you hear the right voice is hear the wrong voice a bunch and listen to that and see how that works. And you go, that ain't it. And then you start to listen more closely. And I'm not saying like, oh, let's breathe. But like the breathing and the working out means you start to hear the right voice. Because most people, right, they're like, I'm having a terrible day. I'm like, hey, have you exercised? They're like, no. I'm like, well, you're definitely not hearing it. We don't meditate to say like, I'm meditating. You fucking meditate so you can hear the fucking play. Not the madness voice, the one that's like stiller, slower, knows exactly what you need. And chances are you haven't been listening to it for a while, but it's still going to talk to you and it's always there. So I look at it every day. Your goal is make sure you hear the right voice. Part of you is going to want to make sure there's no other voice ever and just the right one is there. That's not how this works. That's like a professional athlete being like, I hope no one boos me. They're all going to boo you. Right? If you're good, for sure. Especially when you go on the road, they're going to out to get you. And you got to be like, I signed up for this. Okay. I signed up here on Earth to be a part of the humans who are rewiring our old fucking brains from 10,000 years ago that are full of shit. I signed up to be here. And I signed up to start to hear the subtle voice. That's it. And you can take this in life to any situations you want. And if you're doing really great things in life, like really important things, like maybe shifting generational mental health and doing all these things, oh, you're going to hear some nonsense voices inside of you. Let's keep it real, right? Like, it's a real fight. You're going to hear some fucking nonsense. That means you're on the right track. That means you're actually, because you're going to shift it. You're shifting your whole shit. And if you're doing the right things that you're following and you hear the voice going, no, you're going to die. You're going to fucking die. You're like, cool, I must be on the right track. And you have to deal with that. And you can deal with that. You breathe. I know, and you have to. You got to go through the experience. You breathe with it. This is when exercise helps you deal with all these things. But as you keep doing it, you'll hear the right voice more often. Now, where that voice comes from, I don't know. I live in the mystery of that, the wonder. But like, I got tuned into it in the 90s, and I had to make a choice. You're going to listen to it or not. And every time I listen to it and do it, it magically works out. My logic is like, fuck, man, this is so terrifying. I've done it enough where now my logic isn't even that terrified anymore because it knows, fuck it always works. And I had to sit the logic down. So that's a long answer to the question. How do we fucking know if we're with someone, this is the right person or not? You don't. Go fall down. Now, though, don't stick with it for a long time when you realize it's the wrong person. That's the growth. Instead of like, I got into that for years and suffered through it. You're like, oh, I felt the pain. That's not it. We had honest conversations. they're not available to do the work, no problem. This is probably not the right fit. I hope you do great on your journey. Thank you.
What I'm learning in this is so
Blessed.
many times, and this is, I think maybe this is another answer to that question of how do you determine whether it's something to listen to, is you've got to clear the noise, right? Like
Mm.
our our caveman brains and our emotional brains are like so loud, right?
Loud as
And
fuck.
this is why emotional regulation is so important. And like, you don't have to make a decision on the spot,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, when all that stuff comes up, you shouldn't make a decision on the spot, right?
Slow it down.
Until you can calm yourself down and get all of that noise out of you.
Yeah.
And I think that's when, in those quiet moments, once you get all that other stuff out, then you start hearing that calm
There it is.
voice that tells you the truth. But when you're making,
Boom.
so in when I was in business school, we went to New Zealand for a global trip, and we
Okay.
studied what's called Rangatira leadership. So
Huh.
think of Moana, right, and the
Okay.
Wayfinders, the people that sail those boats.
Okay.
And so we learn how they lead those boats. I mean, these people
Wow.
are like, taking 1,000-mile journeys
Yeah.
on these boats, just navigating using the stars and the natural environment. And one of the things they say is move from a place of stillness. And what that means is you're out at sea, fire happens, like
Yeah.
boat catches on fire, or crew starts arguing, or a giant fucking storm, the sails get ripped, like all kinds of, who knows what the hell, right? Pick one, any one of those.
Yeah.
Well, what they say is when that happens, the first thing you do is take your sails down and you just stop. You just stop moving,
Yeah.
because if you try and keep moving into that, you're going to get off course,
Mm.
right? And if you put your sails up before you've taken inventory of what happened, before you've sorted it all out, you can start moving off course. And when you're going thousands of miles across the ocean, the difference of 1 degree
Big.
can be, versus going to Alaska versus
Yeah.
going
Right.
to like South America somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And so moving from a place of stillness, they say, only when we have all of our shit back together, we are confident that we know where we're going, we have direction,
Yeah.
everything on the boat is back to its restored order, only then do we lift the sails up, because
Mm.
then we know where we're going. And so I kind of think about using that in this space, right?
Yeah.
Of
Right.
when all those voices are happening, when shit just feels like it's so chaotic, you can't think, you can't decide, all your fucking spidey senses are going off, all the stories are screaming at you on the inside. Just stop.
Hey.
Just take a time out, right? Like, walk out of that house. Like,
Come on.
go to the bathroom. Like, hang up, get off your phone, hang up this, like, whatever, get off your screens, like, all that, and just let everything settle, right?
That's it exactly. We don't react. We respond. We take a breath, and we move on. And I think if you can recognize in that moment when it's all coming up, there's nowhere to run. I know you've been running your whole life. How'd that work? Like here, it's trying to like outrun your shadow. So this isn't running. It is like you said, getting still, being in your body in that moment, and starting to regulate yourself. And that's why the breath is so. You can do it. You can find your center, and as you find your center, you. And we were talking about this, like you learn how to sail through the storms. So first of all, give thanks for the storm or the fire or whatever it is, because this is where the fuck you're going to learn how to do this shit. And if you can observe a story and breathe, sit inside your body when the storm hits, you're doing fantastic. All this is a practice. None of this is a quick fix. If you just sit there and breathe and get the Kleenex out, right, and feel like crying, great. Get the Kleenex, cry into it, like express yourself. I accept how I feel. I accept this shit is coming up. You'll see how powerful acceptance is, and then you're actually like these storms were designed so you can learn how to actually sail. It's not a bad thing. I think for a long time people haven't been sailing. And so they're stuck on their island of illusion, living in fucking shitville, thinking if I ever leave this, I'm going to die. I'm like, you're going to die if you don't leave that.
So that idea of how do we decide what to pay attention to and what to throw away really comes from, like, we break it down into a few different things. What I'm hearing is trust, learn, trust, learn how to listen to and trust your inner voice.
That's it. Listen.
Um, learn how to cancel out that noise,
Mm.
and then just experience, right?
Oh,
The more you listen to yourself, the more confidence you're going to grow, the more boundaries you're going to be able to
come on.
set,
Come on.
and then really just identify, is this actually going to be a pattern, or is this just a one-off thing that's the awkwardness of getting to know somebody,
There you go.
right? And to establish a pattern in each time, right? You can't figure these things out. You should not make a decision. Most of the time, you should not make a decision based on one or two experiences with somebody.
Yeah, that might be a snap decision. That might be a reactionary way of doing it. Now, again, you're learning to listen to two different voices. One, the voice that's slower and knows what's up, and one, the voice that's frantic and kind of scared. Eventually, that frantic, scared voice, you're taming it, so you can visualize it. I visualize it as an animal. It was visualized as a lion, and then my first teacher said, "Tell the lion to sit down." And I was like, "You can do that?" She goes, "Of course you can." And I was like, "Sit down, lion." It was like, "Finally, you told me what to do." It was just running wild. So you just start to, in your mind, have a ranking system that, hey, I want to learn to listen to the other voice. I want to hear it. And the other ones I want to learn to tame. Like we talked about, this isn't like we do this to be done with it. You do this so you're like, hey, I'm aware. And do all your stories go away? No, they're still there. But eventually you're like, that doesn't even have any power. You recognize the illusion of the story. It's still there. You might even feel it in your nervous system a little bit, but you're like, I'm actually okay. Because I've been training, building the new pathway for a while, and the shit works. And we've upgraded our fucking software.
Yeah.
We've made space for love. I wanted to introduce this today. We have these little train whistles. I always try to find interesting ways to get, So the train whistle is basically like, we call it next play speed. How fast can I get back on track when I get off track? We all get off track. I might have got off track 500 times today. But next play speed is, how fast can I come back? How fast can I come back? So that's what we're really getting into here. There's no perfection with this. It's, I'm going to fall off the tracks a lot. Okay. But at least I'm aware when I fall off the tracks now. I used to didn't even know there was a track for me or the right thing because it was covered. Now it's like, well, let me see how fast I can get back on track. How fast can I recover? If you don't stop yourself, how are you going to be stopped? Can you be? So reframe it. I didn't fail. Fucking, I just learned how to stand back up. Shit, I am an infant baby learning to walk. And if I go through this weird 6 months, shit, I'll learn to stand the fuck up.
So I want to bring this, like,
Yeah.
I had a light bulb go off. And
Great.
tell me if there's a reason for this light bulb going off.
Sure,
right?
there's a reason.
So right now we are talking about how to trust yourself, how to judge listening to your body. Like, are you getting into old patterns? Are these, whatever. Like, I just had this light bulb moment of like, none of that actually matters, right? Because you're gonna have the experiences you're gonna have. You're gonna have good experiences. You're gonna have bad experiences. You're gonna have experiences that at the time you don't think matters. But the judging of how do I know, is really the experience. Like, instead of focusing on that, I mean, I think it's important a little bit, but focus on the experience of, if this experience knocks me down, I'm strong enough to get back up and smile.
I think that's the whole thing. Look at an infant. We're hardwired perfectly to do it. And then we get out of it. Those babies, when a baby's learning to walk, are we even thinking they're failing?
No, they're moving. We never see falling as moving backwards. We always see it as
moving forward.
They're trying to get to.
Come on, man. So it's like those two things at once. Protect the part of you, allow that part of you to fall down. Like, if you don't, you're going to die. You have to allow. And then competitive compassion. Wow, I'm so grateful I'm falling down. So you compete to be compassionate in that moment, because we're not compassionate in those moments. We're really mean on ourselves. We shut it down. This is when we think our self-worth is based on being perfect, or I can't ever fall down and fail. It's all actually, we reframe the whole thing and go, I fall down really well. I fall down great. I miss really well. I know how to bounce back. I just get good at next play speed. The winning takes care of itself. I'm just good at the falling part and taking notes. Because every time a baby falls, they're taking notes, right? They're like, oh, put your leg here. I need more muscle. Or like they're taking notes. They don't, and then eventually they kind of
Right.
figure it out. And then when a baby falls too, what's the deal with their bones? They have pliable bones. So they're built to kind of go through this process. We can be built to do it too, but we have to be pliable mentally. You can't be so rigid that your fucking bones fall. Because if I'm talking to an 80-year-old, are we like, hey, let's go fall down a bunch? No, because those bones are going to crack, right? When you get old, when I talk to older people, it's like, let's do squats. Let's do like power lifting so they can get up out of a chair and not fucking fall. So you got to know where you are. We want to be flexible mentally as we're going through and learning this process. We got to be, right? We got to be totally flexible as we go through it, and then you'll learn it. You're actually built to be flexible. Thinking your hardwiring is rigid is actually not. It's not it. You can do this.
All right. Well, you'll see another episode of Street Hearts coming up after this
Tomorrow,
episode. We're gonna go out in tomorrow. Send us your questions, DM us, put them in the comments, however you want to get that to us, and we're
anything
just
you
gonna
need.
keep putting this out there. Two dudes talking about love, coming from the garage with Cherry.
Hey, free self-love advice. Tomorrow we hit the streets again.
We'll post it and tell people where we're gonna be.
Thanks for tuning in.
See you next time.
Peace.